Welcome everybody to this week's Tips and Tricks call. Just as a reminder, this is the last Tips and Tricks call for 2021. We will be, the next Tips and Tricks call will be on January 13th, 2022. So you get a little break between the holidays. And today's topic is Harmony Endpoint Push Operations. And it's being presented by Desmond Bynum, an SE out of the Carolinas region. So everybody, please be sure to ask any questions in the Q&A and or ask the questions towards the end. Desmond, take it away.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Let me just share my screen right here really quickly. All right, good morning and welcome to the last December 2021 Checkpoint Tips and Tricks. As Kyle said, I'm your host today, Desmond Bynum out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and supporting Carolina's security engineer for Checkpoint. Today's Tips and Tricks is brought to you by Checkpoint Harmony Endpoint. We'll be focusing specifically on push operations. Oh, and before I get started, Kyle's already mentioned that questions will be submitted in the Q&A as the session goes on, so please feel free to submit as you see fit. With that being said, sit back, sip some coffee, enjoy that scone while we chat briefly about push operations and Checkpoint Harmony Endpoint solution. As I said, we're going to talk about push operations and the use cases for them. Just to make sure customers are aware of and know how to leverage this tool for investigating or remediation of potential security threats to endpoints and clients in their environment. And then we'll jump right in, excuse me, into a demo. I'll have an RDP session open so you can see push operations in action. And we'll be displaying some results from some reports that I ran yesterday for the sake of time and some screenshots. Next, we'll look into some of the SKs and documentations that are currently available on push operations. And lastly, I'll summarize and we'll answer and discuss a few questions that are posted in the chat window. Okay, push operations, what are they? Checkpoint defines push operations as operations that the endpoint security manager server pushes directly to client computers with no policy installation installed. And then you can see here that they are broken down into three key sections. We have anti-malware, forensics and remediation, and agent settings. Demo section. The demo section will be a mixture of screenshot features executed previously for time's sake, of course, and me navigating through the menus to discuss the different section options. And then there'll be a brief demo from the agent settings section towards the end. All right, here's the Harmony Endpoint portal. And we're gonna go right into adding the push operations. So the first section is anti-malware. I like to think of this section as kind of the on-the-spot virus check. As an administrator, you can execute this, excuse me, we can execute this operation for performing anti-malware scans for a specific client or a group of clients as a security measure for your environment. This process does take time to run, so I did capture a screenshot of, let's see if I can get to it. Here we go. I captured this. Oh. All right, captured a screenshot of me running yesterday, and you can see that the client is requesting the time to initiate the scan here at the bottom. And there's an option for the user to postpone it, which can be disabled if you need. Next would be the update malware signature database feature, which also takes a little time to run. So I ran this one in advance as well. You can use this to push manual malware database updates to client and clients. And if you look here, you can see where it was successfully pushed. Going back in here. And last in this section is restoring files from quarantine. Unfortunately, I don't have any current files to display that have been quarantined. All right, moving right along. Forensic remediation. This first feature analyzed by indicator, which can be used to initiate manual triggers for forensic data collection, and it'll produce a report locally when the process is complete. I'll move right over into my RDP session. As you can see here, the report is produced locally, and what I did was I just saved the shortcut so that I can open it when it was time. So it's down here, and I hope my screen is visible. I'm trying to get it right towards the middle here. As you can see here, the forensic report is broken down into clean sections here at the top. And you can look through these and check for, attack stats, attack types, if there are any. The only thing that it did find on my current local machine was the fact that I was logged in via a RDP session. As you can see here, you can drill down into it and get more information. Business impact, there wasn't any. Suspicious activity and events, of course, they're broken down into different categories from most severe top to bottom. And then there's an incident detail tree, and right here you'll only see the RDP session that I was running. Okay. If I can just get this closed. All right, next is file remediation. File remediation involves the quarantine of malicious files, and remediation should you need to in a security investigation scenario. So an example could be shown here if I had files to display that were in quarantine. And then the isolate and the release computer feature can be used to temporarily remove clients from your environment while you assess if there is an issue pending. Okay, we move to the last section here. Agent settings. This section involves actionable features to use to control specific or multiple clients in your network. And before I go through this list, I'm going to actually open the RDP session back up because we're going to watch the kill process in this list be executed. So if I could move this here, get this screen going. As an example, we're going to use Google Chrome as a process to investigate. We will use this as an example of a killing process that we feel may have malicious intent. And you can see here, Google Chrome currently has 16 instances running. And check the details, and you can see the details of those specific instances. So I'm gonna go back here and start the process. Kill, and then you have to select. You can use the entire environment, or you can drill down and focus on specific computers. Just drop down, and here are two of the current computers that are in my local environment. I'm going to select this one. All right, here you have to check it again, hit next. Right here, you want to make a comment see. Just any comment they can use as a reference point. And then you want to enter the process name, which is here. And kill all. In this example, we're going to kill all the instances of prone. But if there was one that you want to particularly isolate, you can uncheck the kill all and add the process ID of the specific instance that you wanted to kill. But we're going to kill home and hit finish. And I'm going to leave this screen open so you can actually see it then once the process complete. And if I refresh, you can see that it started up here. So while it continues to run, I'll go ahead and go back into the next endpoint deployments. You can use this feature to manually add our Harmony Endpoint client to new or existing devices in the network. And then you have collect client logs. This feature, excuse me, is to capture local client logs by scanning and then dropping a zip file locally on that desktop. And this was actually performed yesterday. You can see here. And it'll actually show the file type name of the zip file that was dropped. Next up, you have repair client. This feature can be used if you were having some issues specifically with the endpoint client that you installed on the workstation, or if it wasn't functioning as intended. The next two I feel are pretty self-explanatory. You have shut down computer and restart computer. And you can use those to shut down or restart clients in the environment. And then uninstalling client is also pretty self-explanatory. As an admin, it's very important that you do remember the password you will need it to uninstall specific endpoints. So make sure you don't forget that. The next is application scan. This will be used to select specific applications for scanning, a means of targeting application for a security investigation if you feel it had malicious intent. And right now we're working, look at that, the kill process. It killed Chrome over here. You can see it's gone right when I got to it. And so that's been demoed. And next would be the remote command process. And this feature is similar to the RDP session that I'm using here to remote into this local machine I have here. All right, SKs and documentation. Not a lot of SKs or documentation on this endpoint push operation feature. We do have this one on endpoint host isolation and then terminating killing process, which I've actually just done in the portal. And I feel like you'd be better off using the portal's push operation because it's a little cleaner than actually going through this process of killing processes. And of course, you have the checkpoint documentation, which shows the checkpoint documentation, which gives a brief overview of most of the push features that we have. Okay, to summarize, I spoke about the push operations and how they be beneficial for manual malware investigating, forensic data collection, and actionable management processes on the endpoints and clients. We did a small demo. Some reporting was discussed and a walkthrough of the push operations and features. I've also listed available SKs and documentations for viewing. So at this time, I'd like to refer back to Kyle for any questions that may have come up during the presentation in the chat window.
Absolutely. Thank you, Desmond. And for the content, really do appreciate it. And there are a couple of questions that came out of it. So one of the questions that came up with regards to computer isolation, are there any requirements or prerequisites that you have to have in order to perform computer isolation?
Yes, and let me move back to the portal here. And you can see, if you go back to computer isolation, there's a requirement that you have the firewall blade installed, and it'll show you right here. And also you can just go into, you can go in asset management, and you can see that I don't have that installed, that enabled at the time. So that would need to be enabled for that to run correctly.
Okay, terrific. Next question we got from, how do we perform a remote installation without having a client installed?
That would, so let's go back. So the deployment of the agent on the machine, you require that you deploy an agent on the physical, on the local machine, and that machine would also have to be it would have to have authorization via Active Directory for that specific client.
So we could use a third-party tool like SCCM or any of those, whatever's being used in the organization to push those things out.
Yes, that's correct.
Terrific.
I'll just expand on that a little further.
Oh, thank you, Bobby.
Yep. So to remotely deploy a client that doesn't currently have the initial client installed, there is a way to, and it's in the documentation. We can point specifically to the link in the documentation so you don't have to search for it. You can set up a deployment agent on a machine, give it Active Directory credentials so that it can see the other computers in the same domain. And then you would be able to, without any third-party tools, be able to deploy the initial client or the full agent, however you want to do it, to computers that do not currently have our endpoint client installed. So the whole purpose of that function, that push operation, is so you don't have the requirement of the third-party tools to do the installation. And one other thing I want to talk about real quick is the host isolation. I just want to make everyone aware that completely, if you use the host isolation push operation, it completely blocks all network connections except the connection back to the security management. It survives reboots. So if you were to reboot the computer, it's going to come back up in that same state. The only way to get it out of that state is to do the remove isolation push operation to that computer to get it back to the full state. That's it.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Bobby.
Yes. Appreciate the answers to the questions. And that is all the questions that we have. Again, thank you all for your time today. Thank you, Desmond and Bobby, for doing the presentation today. Once again, a reminder, this is the last tips and tricks of 2021. There will not be one for the rest of the year. The next one will be on January 13th, 2022. That topic is going to be around CSPM, the Cloud Guard Posture Management, and using ping identity integration for SAML authentication. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Desmond. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank
Thank you, everybody, for being a part of today's tips and tricks. And we will be sure to make the recording and any presentation materials available to you if you want it. Thanks, everyone. Have a happy holidays.
Thank you.